Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle podcast brought to you by our friends at Vandy's HVAC. We really appreciate their sponsorship. We got an amazing guest today that you need to know. You may have heard her, but you're not. You're going to know her today because you need to know Jennifer Gray. She's a founder and CEO of Gray Operations Group here in South Huntsville. Jennifer, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I'm excited to talk with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I like to ask people, so how do you describe Gray Operations Group so people kind of get what you do right away?
Sure. So, I could say we do outsource business operations, but what does that even really mean? Essentially, we partner with small business owners who are still doing everything themselves: the bookkeeping, the HR, the payroll, the compliance, on top of running and growing their business. And at some point, the weight of all of that catches up with them, and they realize they're spending time in their business and not working on growing their business. And so that's where we come in. We take the operational burden off of these founders and executives so they can focus on growth. And we come in at whatever level makes sense. The small businesses we work with, sometimes we are just the phone and expert that they can call when they have a question. Sometimes we come in and take over one functional area like payroll or project management. And sometimes we come in and do the whole thing. We are their HR person for a couple hours a week. So we are kind of coming in wherever the business needs to help them grow so they can meet all their goals.
So we have a lot of small business owners that are watching and listening to this right now. They're nodding their head because they're doing too much. I've been there. We've all been there, right? It's okay.
Yeah,
That's why you have a business. So I kind of want to start back. How did you decide, hey, I'm going to start my own thing? How did that come about?
sure. Well, I had seen a number of small business owners who were spending their day either doing billable client work or developing leads, working on their business development. They had a full-time job during the day, and then they would come home at night and have another full-time job, keeping their people paid, making sure Blue Cross Blue Shield was getting paid, making sure the electricity was fine. All of a sudden, they're working two jobs. They're stressed, they're overworked, and they are not really taking advantage of some of the technology that's out there. I've got a computer science degree, and leaning into the ways we can automate things using commercially available tools or within, like, say, the Microsoft suite. You can do a lot of automation in there in a platform that you already pay for, but most founders are so busy just doing the things, they can't think forward. They don't have time or the expertise to think about how they could run things more efficiently, save themselves some time. And so I wanted to be able to offer expert access at whatever level people needed. And so that's really where Gray Operations Group was born. And I'm really happy with the way it's working out.
Yeah, I love how you meet people where they are. They're not just throwing them. Here's everything we do at you. Hey, you kind of a la carte it a little bit. We can do the whole thing. So yeah, so that's why you're the Great Operations Group, right? So you have a bunch of specialists underneath you. So not you. You have a great team. If you guys haven't checked out their website, an amazing team over there. My friend Emily is top notch. You've got an all star right
Yes,
there for sure.
she is. She's amazing.
So and looking back, I mean, it's always risky to start your own thing. What was the biggest risk you took launching your company? You'd say.
Well, my family, my parents have been in government contracting for their whole careers, and they've had a number of businesses. And so while that lends some credibility out of the gate for our company, it also is some pressure to make sure that we continue the tradition of the Gray family companies. And so that was kind of a risk. Can I do it? Can I build a team? Can I build a team of experts that know how to jump from one client to another? Consulting is not sometimes a natural skill set. And finding people who have the expertise in their subject area while also being able to pivot and change and accept clients' decisions, even if it's something that they would not have done. It's important, and it's a hard skill set. And so, could I find those people? That was a risk. Thankfully, I have. I'm very happy with our team as we have it right now. We've got some great people across the country. We've got staff in 3 time zones, and they are really doing phenomenal jobs for our clients and helping them grow.
Excellent, man. You got the 3 time zones. That's I barely keep up with one. My son's in another time zone, and that's hard enough. So I try to live in central at all times, and he's in mountain. I can only handle one, so I don't know how you're doing multiple. You got a lot of moving parts. You're a very
Well,
organized person. You seem like though. You seem like you're built for it.
I am pretty organized, and they have the people that are not in central time zone have that dedication and self motivation to do what needs to be done. My chief program management officer, she lives out in Las Vegas, so she's on Pacific time. So she works 7 to 3 or 4 her time. Instead, she gets up early so that she is on calls when we're ready to have them here in central time. So some of it is a give and take.
There you go. You make it work, right? You can make it work. So, yeah, looking back kind of the beginning years, was there a mistake you made on earlier that actually became valuable later on for you?
I think the biggest thing that I did not really understand was how different the consulting mindset is and how it does not come naturally to some people. We have had a mismatch in some staff that we found they're great technically and they're wonderful people, but consulting just isn't the best fit for them. And so I have since been able to kind of identify what makes someone really successful in our business model, and working with our clients, and work on identifying that in the interview and hiring phase so that we've got staff that thrives here. I want this to be a great relationship, both on their end, where they love coming to work for Geo, and then on our end, where our clients are super happy, where I enjoy managing the team. Want it to be beneficial on both sides.
You always look for the win-win, right? And you said something earlier about accepting client's decision. That is tough for a lot of people, right? That's a skill set on itself, I'm sure.
It is. It's hard, and especially because the people working for me are so talented and they are so knowledgeable that sometimes a client's going to make a decision that's the right decision for the client, but might not align with a best business practice or the easiest way or the way my team thinks it should be done. There are a lot of ways to skin a cat, the saying goes. And as long as it is moral and legal and ethical, they get to run their business and make the decisions. And we present them solutions, we present them options and recommendations, and ultimately they get to make the decision. We respect that, and then we execute the way they want us to because it's their business.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that's it. So it's it's a tough pill to swallow, and you can kind of see where it's going to go, probably. But like you said, and then that's it. So I'm curious for people that are listening right now. Maybe they're experiencing a lot of growth right now. But what are some signs you see where the growth is it's outpacing their current operations?
Sure. So it is really the owner is doing the work during the day, and then they're still coming home at night. And there's also like a low grade anxiety underneath it. Am I doing this right? Is this going to come back and bite me in a compliance review? They're spending time Googling their way through processes that have regulatory stakes, especially in government contracting. And they're trusting their gut that the way they're doing it is right, and they're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's when their gut was never trained on whatever specific area. So it's not really the chaos that you can see, although that is definitely an indication that you need to think through how you're running your business. But the underlying hours and worry and stress that these founders are carrying every single day takes a toll.
If you're a business owner, you know the anxiety you just mentioned. We've all been there, right? You know
Right.
that there's people that can help you with. If only I was talking one right now that you could get with. So what's an operational mistake you see over and over that operators are making out there?
Waiting, really. It's the most common and most expensive mistake I see. It's hard to step out and say I'm going to pay someone else to run my payroll because technically the owner can do it. They can run it at their kitchen table on Sunday night and it's done. And the thought of paying someone to do something that they could do, it's a hard pill to swallow when you're just getting started, funds are limited, and there are 100 other places that money and attention could go. So owners put it off. And in government contracting, especially, this can be really consequential. You win a contract, and all of a sudden you've got a DCAA audit pending, and you have no written accounting policies in place. So then you're struggling and you're playing catch up, which takes more time. And if we come in at that point, it's probably going to cost more because we're trying to build everything from scratch based on what your you're doing or not doing to make sure everything is all buttoned up, as opposed to being able to strategically take our time and methodically plan everything out. So, really, the companies that handle growth well are almost always the ones that build their infrastructure before they need it. Their operational readiness is a priority, even when they feel like they don't need it yet.
Man, you were talking about the audit, and I'm not even in government contracting. My heart rate went up a little bit. I think my blood pressure spiked. I'm not even in that world, and it got me nervous. So,
Absolutely. You see an email come in from DCAA or DCSA and you panic. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like when you get a letter from the IRS and they're just saying, we updated your address, or good news,
it's,
you
it's
paid your taxes this year. But you see that IRS watermark and you're like, what happened? And
yeah,
same
yeah.
kind of thing.
These acronyms got us all shook. We got to be careful around these acronyms. So, is
Exactly.
there everyone talks about scaling, right? That's kind of a buzzword in the
Yes.
business world all the time. You need to do this and scale and all these things. What do you see that separates the people that successfully scale from the people who don't?
Think really it is being intentional. It is taking time to think through their processes, the way they're doing things, to make sure there's not a single point of failure. They're looking at, okay, I did the same task last month. I'm doing it again this month, but I'm doing it from memory every time. Do I forget a step this month? Or what about if I want to take a vacation at this same time next month? Who's going to do it and will they do it right? So, people who are able to scale successfully are the ones who are intentionally writing down their processes, writing down their standard operating procedures, getting the knowledge out of one person's head so that if someone leaves, whether it's for vacation or maternity leave, or whether they leave to take another job, that knowledge doesn't go with them. It remains with the company and everyone can pitch in when needed without, it's not a house of cards. It's a house made of brick and stone that's going to withstand personnel coming and going.
Yeah, I think so many of us, they just, they'll figure it out, right? That's just, I do it all the time because it's second nature. You've been doing it so long, it's so easy. But if you start writing down everything you do, it's a lot of stuff. You got to get it out of your head and onto paper. That's a great point you made.
And think about the time that you spend trying to remember all the steps. Or if you're training someone new, you're trying to tell them what you're doing. And then it's like, oh, wait. And also, some months you do this, or some months it's end of quarter. So you got to process these other taxes. And just the mental load of keeping that running in the back of your mind takes a toll on people.
Sure. Yeah. If you're wondering why you're always tired and you're a business owner and you're doing this, that's why. It's always like you're a computer. You got 400 tabs open at all times. It's draining your memory. You don't want that.
Absolutely.
Hire that out. I'm just telling you, especially the finance. If you're like me, like I'm in the fitness world, a lot of people are great fitness trainers. Like they can train anybody of all walks of life. They are terrible with money and you don't know the business side. That's the first thing I hired out, an accountant. Either I was going to be broke or in jail. So I had to hire an accountant right away.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about leadership. You talked about your team earlier and how you've kind of figured out what to go. So you've built these teams, you've led them for years. What do you think makes a great leader?
So I think a great leader operates with clarity and consistency. People don't need a perfect leader. They need a leader who's clear about what matters. They need someone who's consistent in how they show up and someone who is honest when things aren't working. I think some leaders struggle because they don't want to have that hard conversation. They see something that someone on their team did that was a mistake or wasn't up to their standards. And rather than having that hard conversation and focusing it on the work, not on the person, they just decide, I'm going to step in and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do it. Well, your team never gets to grow then. And so being able to be real clear about what standards mean to you, because everyone has different standards. Every leader is going to expect different things out of their staff. Being able to communicate what those standards are so the team can meet them. If they're constantly chasing a moving target because you've never had a conversation on what you expect, that's a losing proposition for everyone involved. And being really focused and consistently showing up, consistently giving positive feedback and negative feedback. Everyone needs to hear both sides. And that is really what differentiates between a really strong leader and one who's struggling.
Yeah, if it looks easy on the front end, if you'll just do it and fix it for them, right? That's just in the moment, it's easier, but in the long term, that's not how it's going to work, right? You want
The
to
downstream
you
effects are large, both on the leader's mental load and energy and time, but also on staff development. No one wants to be stagnant. And so if someone is not getting encouragement to grow and learn, they're probably more likely to be looking for another job.
Sure. That's just within all of us, right? It's part of it. So when you look back as your career in leadership, what's something you've changed your mind about?
So I mean, I think it goes along with that. I used to think that just being available and responsive, just being in the office so my team could come in, making sure they know that they can text me whenever they need something, or, I'm always available, as the owner, you kind of sign on for that, right? I'm the owner, I'm responsible. I'm kind of always on call when things pop up. But I think really real support for your team is helping them develop the capability and confidence to solve the problems without you in the room. You're going to be always going to be essential because you're the owner, you're the one making the final decisions, but helping your staff grow so they're confident in what they're doing also is very, very important. And it's something that I might not have learned early enough in my career, but thankfully I know and understand now.
That's great. Some people never learn it, so that's good. You
Right.
figured it out earlier than most. So you're all about your people. You mentioned that earlier. Very people focused company. But how do you balance that? I'm people focused, but I'm also all about having these high standards. How do those kind of meet in the middle?
Right. So, I think there's less of a tension when you're doing it intentionally. And holding high standards is people focused. It gives someone a place to aim for. Be direct about expectations up front. Give feedback when things aren't meeting the standard. And then helping your team understand that the desired result is not perfection, but it's something that's great, right? Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Apple puts out bug fixes every single time they do an iOS update. No one puts out a perfect product or service. And helping them, the entire team, and treating myself this way, understand that great is better than perfect. Here is the standard. I want you to meet it, but meeting that means you did a great job, not that you did a perfect job. And when things fall under those standards, I'm going to communicate what did what went wrong, what went right, how can we pivot in the future so the same thing doesn't happen again. And we're going to accept that responsibility either within the team or with the client or at home with my family. We're going to accept that responsibility for whatever mistake we made. And then we're going to move on. We're not going to sit and focus on what didn't work, but we're going to learn from it, make changes so that in the future it works better, and really focus on doing great work, not perfect work.
There you go. And I like throughout everything you just said, communication was woven through the whole thing. I can tell it's very important to you right there. And I think that so many people why they do leave jobs is because the communication is not there from the higher ups, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Communication is vitally, vitally important for all sizes of business, but especially for small businesses.
So I'm just noticing something just as a fellow parent, you almost run your business like a parent. A lot of these are good parenting things that you could also put into leadership as well. And that's also something very important to you is that you want your place to be a great place to go to work for working parents. How's that become so important to you over the years?
Well, my most important title is not CEO, it's mom. And if I'm failing at that, nothing else really matters. So when I built Gray Operations, I wasn't going to build something that asked my team to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. I feel like a lot of traditional work structures aren't designed with working parents in mind. And I think that is both a whole cultural problem, but it's also a personal one. And even if I can only change things for my little group of people, they each have a family and that spreads out and impacts a lot more people. So, we built something different. Parental leave, remote work, flexible PTO. I mean, the ability that this morning I was at my son's basketball scrimmage, came in, doing some work. I did some work before I went, doing some work right now. I'm going to go back to the next scrimmage this afternoon and come back to work and do some more. And the flexibility to kind of manage their own schedules based on what they need, with also the expectation that they're getting their work done. My team, they're adults, they have lives. I let them be the adults that they are. It's important to me.
Seems like a easy concept, but I don't think a lot of people still get that. They still have that old school, but yeah, you trust you. You hired great people. Start with that, and then you trust them, and then you hold them to higher standards. And look at that, the magic is happening.
Right? Absolutely. I think it's all about the give and the take.
So you mentioned a little bit how you've done it. Give me some more advice on balancing career and family. What have you learned over the years?
So I think one of the things is that being a parent, being a working parent, it's made me ruthless about efficiency in the best way. So when your time is constrained at all hours of the day, I stopped doing things just because I could. And I started asking where my time was actually being spent creating the most value. So I outsource a lot in my personal life and also in my professional life. I outsource a lot. Not because I'm incapable, but because someone else can do it faster and with better results that I can trust while I focus on what really needs me and needs my personal insight and help. So, parenting really taught me that the question was never, was I capable, but whether I I'm using what I have in a way that gets the best result. So I think that shift in thinking has made me, a better leader, better business owner, and also a better parent. I'm definitely teaching my kids that it's important to know how to do all the things. I still need to teach my 17-year-old daughter how to change a tire. It's important to know how to do it, but it's also important to recognize that actually doing it might not be the best use of your time,
There you go. That's a life lesson right there. But I
right?
bet your kids know their way around a spreadsheet, don't they?
It's interesting. In school, they use all the Google products. And so my oldest daughter, she is our marketing intern this summer. And it has been humorous to help her understand the Microsoft suite of products. She's like, but I know how to do this in Google. Okay. But when you get to the business world, unless you are, I know that there are lots of industries that focus on Google and Mac and utilize those types of things. But in Huntsville, we're a lot of defense contractors where, Microsoft is the default and they've got to understand how to utilize that tool also. My youngest daughter saw me typing and because when we were growing up, we had typing class. I had like
Yeah.
2 years of keyboarding. And so I am a master typer. And she saw me typing and was like, well, I want to learn how to do that. So she went on typing.com and taught herself how to type. And I think giving them the experiences of those types of things, real world business, having them see me every day. Mom's working, mom's on a call. I'm not going to interrupt her. Let me be respectful. Giving them those kinds of experiences, I think, is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can learn a lot in the classroom, but you also need to know the other stuff outside of the classroom. And watching you is a pretty dang good model right there. So
Thank you.
when you look back as when you first started and then maybe 10 years ago or something like that, what does success look like versus 10 years and present day?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, I had a 7-year old and a 5-year old and a 3-year old. And so success at that stage was really being able to do something during the day that engaged my mind and still be able to attend every field trip and do every school pickup. So I was running my own little consulting business, mostly working with other moms who were selling products on Etsy or had small boutiques. And success was just more being a mom while also staying intellectually challenged, right? So today it's bigger than that. Success is about impact, durability. Am I building something that helps people, whether it's my team growing, whether it's our clients, you know, our clients and is my team better off for having worked with me? That's what matters to me. But still, the ultimate definition of success is the example I'm setting for my kids. I want them to see what it looks like to live in the and, to be both a mom and a business owner. Not perfectly, but intentionally, living with intention in both spaces and setting that example for them. It remains the most important goal.
That's awesome. Hey, you can do both. You can
You
do
can.
both, right? You can, and you're living proof right there, and you're showing them. Like they say, this more is caught than is taught, right? You could talk about it all you want, but they're going to watch how you live your life, and that's the biggest lesson you can ever give them, right there. So, I
Certainly.
mean, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs here in Huntsville and across the country.
Yes.
What's the lesson that you've learned that every entrepreneur you wish they could hear?
Get out of your own way. You
Oh,
can do all
man.
the things. You can. You can run payroll at the kitchen table on Sunday night. You can Google HR compliance, but should you? What's it costing your family when Sunday night belongs to payroll instead of them? What's it costing your business when you're scrambling for a pre-award accounting audit instead of being ready for one? Scramble has a price, right? And it's not just stress, it's the growth that doesn't happen, it's the relationships that aren't nourished. And Huntsville's a growth market. The opportunities here are real and they're expanding every day. New companies are coming in, new industries, but the businesses that can't capture those are usually the ones where operations weren't ready when the moment came. So get out of your own way. Build the infrastructure before you think you need it. Get the right people around you before pressure hits. And stop treating working at night and on the weekends as a badge of honor and instead treat it as a temporary solution while you figure out what the final solution is going to be.
That's it. Yeah, get out of your own way. It's great advice right there. That should be on a T-shirt right there. So, we're gonna move
Absolutely.
on to the rapid fire section. Brought to you by our friends at Huntsville Hub, and that's Huntsville's co-working home for solopreneurs, small teams. You don't want to be at the kitchen table like talk about. Skip the noisy coffee shop. Get in there and get a professional setting. The desk, the meeting rooms, all that good stuff. And you can go to book a tour at huntsvillehub.com and you get a free day pass if you miss your friends over here at Huntsville Hustle. So we appreciate their sponsorship. So let me ask you your favorite Huntsville restaurant.
Commerce Kitchen. The whole voice restaurant concepts is phenomenal, but Commerce Kitchen is one of my favorites. It's comfort foods with a little bit of panache. Always, always excellent.
Always. What's underrated Huntsville business, you would say?
So for me, it's less about one business and more about what happens when you take the time to get to know the people behind them. I know that when I need books for my team, I can call Christina or Lady at the Snail on the Wall and they'll track them down fast. When I want to send flowers to an employee for a birthday or a milestone, I call Lee at Florida Lee and a beautiful arrangement shows up. So the businesses, there are amazing businesses in Huntsville, but and everyone is happy to help each other, but you've got to invest in the relationship first.
That's the beauty of a small business, right?
It is.
That's why you should support local, right? You want people like that. And those are two great business owners you mentioned right there. So if you're going out for a coffee meeting, what coffee shop you going to?
I don't drink coffee. Is that bad?
No,
But
that's actually really good.
well, I drink Diet Coke, so six one, half dozen another. But when I meet with clients, I like to go somewhere local that can satisfy anything that someone wants. Good Company Cafe is one of those places. Excellent food, wonderful drinks, and a staff that is always happy to help and very friendly. So that's really my go-to.
There you go. Diet Coke or coffee, they got you, and great folks over there. So,
They are
what's the best business advice you've ever received?
probably just because you can do it one way doesn't mean that it's the right way. Again, there are lots of ways to do things, and everyone's mind works differently. Their priorities are different. And so understanding that just because I think this way is the only way to do it, well, it's not really. It's just one way of a lot of different ways. And being able, my dad, Ron Gray, is my mentor. I go to him a lot when I have business questions. And he often is encouraging me like just because somebody's doing it differently than the way you would do it, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different.
Yeah, that is great advice. Everyone you meet knows something you don't, right? That's a big thing my dad
Absolutely.
used to tell me. So, my favorite though is what's the worst business advice you've ever been given?
I'm not really sure. I think the worst advice that I would think of is trying to copy what someone else is doing. You see someone who is doing something, you love what they're doing, and you're like, okay, I can recreate that model. That model probably will not work for you, whether it's because you think differently. Again, you have different priorities. And so I think that would be the advice that I would most steer clear of and is trying to just copy what someone else is doing. Use your own ideas, your own unique flavor and brand to make something that is uniquely you. That's where you'll find success.
Yep. Eventually, that's going to run out. If you're trying to copy somebody, eventually runs out, and then it's just you, right? So you got to be you.
Absolutely.
So, what excites you the most about Huntsville's future?
Huntsville is really, really a unique place. It's a melting pot. People are always relocating here from people all over the country, all over the world, or people that are coming in who have traveled the world. A lot of service members are retiring here and they've been stationed all over the world. So all of those people are bringing their own experiences, their backgrounds, their beliefs, their cultures. And I think the diversity of that background makes our business community a lot sharper, makes us more agile and willing to accept other people, which helps us grow faster, think bigger, build better. So I'm excited about the small business infrastructure here. I think there's a real movement to prioritize that. And the influx of new residents, it it only strengthens that.
I'm with you on that. You hear people complain about it. It's a good thing. It's okay. We're gonna have our bumps. We're gonna have our bruises, but it's gonna be all right. You hang in there, champs. You'll be
Absolutely.
okay. It's gonna be better off eventually, right? So I know people are listening. Like, I am tired of doing it all myself. How can they learn more about you, become clients? How can they contact you?
Sure. So the best place to start is grayoperationsgroup.com. You can explore our services, meet the team, and reach out directly from there. We're also on LinkedIn at Gray Operations Group, where we post fairly regularly on operations, government contracting, and what we're seeing in the market. If you want something a little more personal or more employee centric, you can find us on Instagram at Gray Operations Group. Or I have a personal business account with Jen Gray, where I share what I'm learning, what we're building as a team, and the leadership lessons that come along with running a growing business. So anyone can reach out on our website via any of those platforms, and one of our team will get back to you. We offer a complimentary discovery call just to talk about, see if we're a fit, see if we have something that could benefit a client, and we would love to talk.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll link all that in show notes. You can just go click on things wherever you want to connect with them, and we'll get you set up together on those. And this got one thing before we go. What can our podcast do for you?
So word of mouth is really everything for us. It starts with introductions. So if you know someone who is running their own business and trying not to run themselves into the ground at the same time, send them our way. That's really our sweet spot. The person who knows they need help, but maybe isn't even sure of what kind of help they need. That's exactly who we want to talk to. So not limited to Huntsville. We work with companies across the country. And so if someone in your network anywhere is dealing with operational chaos and trying to figure out how to grow without burning out, please make the introduction. We'd love to talk to them.
There you go. And when you were early, you were listening, you start nodding your head along by that was you she was talking to. Make the call. Get that free consultation. Just see how they can help you. It doesn't have to be like this, right? You can still have a great business and not be stressed out at the dinner table.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with us and your life lessons along the way. We really appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Joe. I enjoy listening to your podcast. So
Well,
thank you
thank you.
for all
Thank
your
you.
bringing.
Appreciate that. Yeah. And I thank for everybody for tuning in right now. And I thank you again for our sponsors, Vandy's Heat and Air, Homely Huntsville Newsletter, Huntsville Hub, and the website Building Geniuses at Mick Williams Marketing. We appreciate all of them and we appreciate you. We'll see you next week on the Huntsville Hustle podcast.